of nuclear weapons on the base.
You have to imagine, he's the guy who was sitting with his finger on a nuclear button, even though we can't say it, because you can't talk about American nuclear weapons on UK soil.
A key security component of the base is the watchtower, located just to the north of the hot row. It provides a view of the entire area and the Rendlesham Forest site. The team meets Gary Heseltine, a former Air Force policeman with experience in securing nuclear sites.
I've long been fascinated by the Rendlesham Forest case because between 1983 and 1989 I served in the Royal Air Force as a police officer, and on 2 nuclear facilities you always had a high tower. The significance of the tower was that it was above the tree line and it had a 360 view.
Colonel, this is unbelievable. What a view. You can see everything from up here.
Yeah, one thing you have to keep in mind, the trees are much higher now. We had a 360 panorama from up here before. We would never let the trees grow this high for security reasons. And from here, the tower operator had a fantastic view of everything for miles around.
So if somebody were up here, he could see everything that was going on over in that area that night, on both nights.
But with somebody up here?
This type of tower would have to be manned 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So, Colonel, I suspect that there was somebody up here. Have you any knowledge of anybody up here?
Oh yes, in fact, I know who was up here very well.
In November 2007, Colonel Halt received an email from one of the guards who was posted in the observation tower that night in 1980.
He has given me quite a bit of correspondence, and he verifies the fact that that night when he was in the tower, he actually saw beams coming down into the weapons storage area simultaneous to the one we saw over our feet in the field.
Did you say there was a man up here who also saw the incident from here, and he saw beams coming down?
So this is a whole new witness to this entire case.
Well, he doesn't really want to come forward.
If a person were up here, as you've said, and could see the whole thing, including the lighthouse and the events on the ground and the forest.
We're talking about a genuine object firing beams down into a special facility, a highly secret, secure area.
So we have a whole new witness. This breaks this case wide open again.
Another piece of evidence also corroborates the alleged UFO incident. On the following night, December 26, 1980, Colonel Halt documented his encounter on a cassette recorder. It recreates his experience moment by moment and has become one of the most compelling documents in UFO history.
Is that real? What is it? We don't know, sir.
The team retraces the steps of Colonel Halt's UFO encounter that night.
This is the infamous East Gate at Woodbridge. This is where the event actually started.
Colonel Halt arrived at the site with 5 servicemen after being told by the other police officers that the mysterious light had been spotted a second time.
The police claimed that it was back. They kept telling me it was back.
When you heard this report from these men, what did you make of it? What was your frame of mind?
I thought there was a rational explanation for this. I guess I was a non-believer is the best way to put it.
What happened when you came out to investigate?
Somebody had to go out and respond and put this to rest. And it was my intention to go out there and just put it all to rest and put it all behind us and get it over with. And that's really what I intended to do and what I expected to do. In fact, you know, when I got out there, I thought, why did I ever get involved in this? I wish I had done this. I wish I'd let somebody else do this, because nobody will believe this. So I gathered up a small team, 5 people, and we went out into the forest.
I just saw a light there. Where? There it is again. Yeah, it's a strange red light. Hey, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now.
Colonel Charles Halt, an American serviceman stationed in Britain in 1980, recounts the night he chased down what he believes was a UFO.
Did you do anything to document the sighting on the night?
Yes, I actually have my little in-ear portable tape recorder with me, so I turned it off and on as something was occurring. I documented everything on the tape.
It's a strange red light. There's something very, very strange. And it just moved to the right. Yeah. Off to the right. Strange.
Halt claims that he led a team of soldiers from the east gate of RAF Bentwaters. They then spotted the bright object in Rendlesham Forest and reportedly chased after it, heading east. When they reached a farmhouse in a clearing, the object launched into the skies.
We were moving in this direction, as was the object I saw moving through the trees.
Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you, still moving from side to side. It sort of has a hollow center. You know, like a pupil of an eye looking at you and winking. And the flash is so bright it almost burns your eye.
Halt reports that the light moved past a creek into a nearby field.
We just crossed the creek. We see strange strobe-like flashes to the rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon.
We come out of the forest up here about another 100 yards, chasing the object. The object came out in the middle of this field.
The field contained a farmhouse, cattle, and at that time, a bright moving object.
We're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmers burning our animals. They're very, very active, making an awful lot of noise. Here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now.
And we're looking out this way, obviously.
Okay.
There's the farmer's house.
Yeah.
The object was out here in the field, over here.
Right.
The lighthouse is over there, about 30 degrees.
Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
So once you got out here to the field, the object was gone?
The object silently exploded into 5 white objects, and they just disappear.
Is there any way this could have been some sort of flare?
Flare doesn't move through the forest avoiding trees and bob up and down a little bit. It came toward us at some point, it went away from us at some point, and when we approached it, it moved out here into the field.
Now what exactly were you seeing?
An object that was oval shaped, bright reddish orange, almost like the sun at midday. It had a black oval center, it would wink a little bit, and it was dripping something like molten metal.
There was molten metal?
Well, I say that's the only way I can equate it. It was something was dripping that appeared off it.
So helicopter explanation is out?
No, it wasn't a helicopter.
Colonel Halt is one of the most credible eyewitnesses that I've ever had the chance to talk to. This man ran an entire military base with a lot of top secret weapons that he couldn't tell me about. And I don't think he made a mistake that night. I think something happened that people weren't meant to know about.
These 2 bases, adjacent to the forest, were among the most secure in the world. Impenetrable fences encircled the bases. Razor wire, motion detectors, embedded sensors, and more than 25 heavily armed patrolmen guard the facilities.
This was a facility with some of the tightest security in the world. And this thing comes out of the sky, it lands there not once, but twice in a 24-hour period without triggering any sort of alarm. The only way that this thing was seen was by the human eye when these guards came out to see it. And what's odd is that this thing was brilliantly lit. It shone beams down to the ground. It's almost as if it didn't even care if it was seen or not. It's almost as though it could care less about how we would defend ourselves against it. There's nothing we had that this thing was scared of. And for me, that's the scariest thing of all.
RAF Bentwaters most likely housed nuclear weapons as tensions grew in the 1980s.
You have to remember what the world was like in 1980. Some historians call it the start of the Second Cold War, a Cold War threatening to become a hot war, with 2 sides staring at each other across the Iron Curtain. And Ronald Reagan had just been elected president and was making all kinds of threats against the evil empire of the Soviet Union. It was a very scary time, with both sides making all kinds of military threats.